2, 1.
7 things you probably didn't know you need to know. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Smart 7.
Good morning, everybody. It's Monday the 12th of December, and it's Gingerbread House Day. And a big happy birthday to Bill Nye, Bob Barker, Dionne Warwick and Jasper Conrad. This week is jam-packed with strikes. Rail workers on Tuesday and Wednesday, along with driving examiners and civil servants. And Thursday sees nurses in the Royal Mail take to the picket lines. So you might think it's a good time for some negotiations. Well, the nursing unions have offered to suspend strike action if there are constructive pay talks, but they say the government's refused to start the process on 5 occasions. Foreign Secretary James Cleverly, who spoke to Sophie Ridge on Sky, says it's not up to the government to sort it out.
We recognise the importance of what they do, but ultimately we've got to make sure that we are good custodians of the public purse. And, as I say, the negotiations done between the unions and their employers.
Meanwhile, the Nurses Union chief, Pat Cullen, says the strikes have nothing to do with the struggling NHS. She says it's been that way for a long time.
The one day of action hasn't created the 7.2 million people sitting on our waiting lists. The NHS has been in crisis for many, many years. That hasn't been caused by nurses. The
government has effectively closed the door to any hopes of pausing the strikes by insisting that the pay recommendation of between 4 and 5% for NHS England staff could not be amended. But the Shadow Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, says there's plenty of money if, for example, non-dom tax status was scrapped in order to pay for public sector pay rises.
Why is it that when it comes to taxing the wealthy, it's always far too difficult, but when it comes to picking the pockets of working people with punitive tax rises, that seems to be the Conservatives' first and last resort.
Tragedy has struck in Jersey, where at least 5 people have been confirmed dead, while at least 4 more remain missing after a suspected gas explosion destroyed a block of flats in the centre of the capital, St Helier, on Saturday. Christina Moore, the Chief Minister of Jersey, spoke to BBC News about the explosion.
Very sadly, they cannot see any sign of life on the site, so we have now moved into a recovery operation.
A criminal investigation could be launched, and an inquiry has begun into the action of the fire service in the hours before the explosion at 4 a.m. on Saturday. But the Chief of Jersey Police, Robin Smith, has assured Islanders they can have faith in the emergency services as the investigation gets underway.
It's awful, but Islanders can have confidence in their emergency services. Islanders can have confidence in the States of Jersey Fire and Rescue Service.
Multiple explosions have been reported in the Russian-occupied city of Melitopol in southern Ukraine. A Russian military barracks used by the Wagner mercenary groups among the areas struck in the Russian-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic. Meanwhile, the city of Odessa has been without power for most of the weekend after another wave of Russian attacks. White House National Security spokesman John Kirby says the US is really clear on what Vladimir Putin's goals are.
And what we see on the ground is a man who is determined to continue to prosecute this war against the Ukrainian people. Indeed, he's hitting civilian infrastructure, knocking out the lights, knocking out the water. He is trying to bring the Ukrainian people to their knees as winter approaches.
Meanwhile, a trailer's dropped for David Letterman's interview with Zelensky, which premieres on Netflix tonight. The TV legend travelled to Ukraine for the interview, and you can hear just how dangerous things got.
Do you hear the sirens?
Yes, I can hear the siren. What should we do?
Nothing.
In any other circumstance, that wouldn't be reassuring, but here with you, I feel reassured.
A Lockerbie bombing suspect is now in US custody 34 years after an explosion brought down Pan Am Flight 103 over the Scottish town in December 1988. The attack killed 270 people on board when the bomb detonated over Lockerbie as it flew from London to New York. The US charged Abu Aguila Masood for his alleged involvement in the bombing 2 years ago, and yesterday confirmed they'd taken him into US custody. NBC News foreign correspondent Ali Arouzi explained what happens next.
A spokesman for Scotland's prosecutor's office says that the families of those killed in the Lockerbie bombing have been informed about Masood's arrest and that they are going to continue to pursue the investigation and bring everybody who aided Abdul Basit al-Magri, who masterminded the bombing, to justice.
Still to come on the Smart 7, the only thing coming home is the England team, and Jamie Lee Curtis talks sobriety with Colin Farrell right after this. Welcome back.
3,
The World Cup dream just wasn't to be, as England tasted defeat in Qatar on Saturday night. A late penalty missed by captain Harry Kane saw France win 2-1 and head on to the semis. Former England international Alan Shearer was pretty impressed by the efforts of the team and has some sympathy for boss Gareth Southgate.
They've tried as hard as they could, they've given everything. And when that happens, you can walk away with your head held high, and the England players can do that, and Gareth can do that. It was just one of those nights, it wasn't going to happen.
And as ever, England's biggest and possibly boldest fan, Ross Kemp, had slightly over-earnest words of sympathy too.
England, we are so proud of you as a football team, particularly the captain and the manager. We love you.
Two of Hollywood's most charismatic figures have sat down for a heart-to-heart about addiction and recovery. Jamie Lee Curtis has been clean for over 2 decades, and now she's opened up to fellow sober actor Colin Farrell. The 2-time Golden Globe winner spoke about what sobriety means to her on the Variety Actor to Actor chats.
Being sober is going to be a legacy for sure.
Yes.
Because you're stopping what has been a generational issue.
Yeah, true.
In my biological family. So for me, sobriety it will be the single greatest thing I do if I can stay sober.
What's it like to play a world-class undercover spy? Well, let Damian Lewis explain. It's a tale as old as time, but his new film A Spy Among Friends has a fresh bash at the story of the notorious MI6 agent and Soviet spy Kim Philby. Starring Guy Pearce and Anna Maxwell Martin, this is one of the flagship dramas to launch ITV's revamped online player and new subscription service. Damian explains what drew him to the role, playing a friend of Philby's MI6 agent Nicholas Elliott.
I wanted to try and get in behind the facade of a very well-known character, Kim Philby, and really examine his friendships and more intimate moments with his great friend Nicholas Elliott, and how then Nicholas Elliott facilitated his successful spying for 30 years.
This has been The Smart 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Have a great day.
Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.